Good day. You should have a sheet about electricity safety, and this is based on information from BC Hydro. All going well if we have classes in class, then we'll watch a BC Hydro video and we'll talk about some of this information. And last year you probably watched ElectroJuice, and if you didn't, we can try to find ElectroJuice somewhere out there online. So we're just going to go through this quite quickly. As little as 50 milliamps can kill a person. So remember, 1 amp is 1,000 amps. So 50 milliamps is 1/20th that amount. And human tissue is a good conductor. One of the main messages is don't be a path to ground for electricity. And this applies to lightning storms and applies to household electricity. Electricity is always seeking the lowest resistance path to ground. In other words, the easiest path to the ground. And there are many ways to be a path to ground. Not a good thing. So with electrical equipment, you don't want to use out worn out or broken down equipment. Improperly installed, improperly used. If it's damaged, fix it or replace it. And it says ensure portable tools are double insulated or plugged in with a 3-prong plug. That third prong is the grounding one. Never break off the grounding prong just because it won't fit into a socket. And outside, you should always make sure your extension cords are grounded. Alrighty. Overhead hazards. So you've got to be careful about overhead wires and keep yourself at least 3 meters away from all high voltage lines overhead. So if you've got a job operating a crane, or in one of those bucket ladders, you've got to be careful about power lines. And that's what it's talking about here. Do not work on trees or signs closer than 3 meters from high voltage power lines. Do not climb power poles. And stay away from them in electrical storm. If you do find yourself in a storm, you want to crouch down low, take yourself low, but also keep your feet together so your feet will end up being at the same voltage. Underground. Don't dig and die. So you want to contact BC Hydro and Fortis, the gas company, before you go digging, because you could run into their wires or their pipes. And you could either electrocute yourself or cut into a gas line. And so if you're going to go more than 0.5 meters, you better contact the utility companies. And if you run into yellow plastic warning ribbon or blank, that tells you you're right on top of those lines. And especially if you're an excavator or something, you've got to be careful because those things will just rattle right through things. Also be careful if you're driving things into the ground. And let's see, what else we got next page? If an accident happens, you have to make sure you stay safe so you can still be helpful. If someone appears to be electrocuted, somehow you have to shut off the power or you're going to have to knock them to safety without touching them. So, let's see, if the accident involves high voltage, stay at least 10 meters away because that electricity could radiate out through a floor. And if you're outside, like in a car accident, again, you've got to obey that 10-meter rule. If let's say you're in a car and it comes in contact with a high voltage line, and let's say your best bet is to stay in the car, but let's say you have to leave the car. Then you're going to jump out of the car without touching it. You're going to land with your feet together, and the best thing is to shuffle at least 10 meters away because you're moving to an area of lower voltage. And if you took a step, the danger is your back foot would be in a higher voltage than your front foot, and electricity could pass through you. We've talked about substations briefly and transformers and the lines entering your home, and you saw step and touch potential talked about in the video, if we manage to show you that darn video. Otherwise, I'll have to stick it in here somewhere.